Okay, let us start inshallah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الكريم وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي اللهم أخرجنا من ظلمات الوهم وأكرمنا بنور الفهم وافتح علينا بمعرفة العلم وسهل أخلاقنا بالحلم واجعلنا ممن يستمعون القول فيتبعون أحسنه اللهم اجعل أعمالنا خالصة لوجهك ولا تجعل فيها حظا لغيرك وصل اللهم على سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين والحمد لله رب العالمين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Uh, I make dua that everyone's well and that you had a good week and that you will have a good one ahead of you, inshallah. We ended our last lesson with, we were busy with this chapter, Da'wah to Ibrahim, and for homework, you guys had pages number 20 and 21, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct?
Alaikum Malana. Malana, I think you had mentioned in the class that we had 20 and 21 for homework, but I don't think in the email it was stated. I think there was a situation even last time where in the email the homework wasn't stated.
So I told you, but you didn't do it. So what?
No. Just to clarify for people
Okay.
that might, yeah, I like last week I didn't do the homework because it wasn't in the email, but this week I paid attention in class, and I saw that you had given us the homework, so I did it.
Okay, alhamdulillah. Okay, what we'll do is, inshallah, we'll go through quickly at the beginning. We read the chapter, inshallah. I'll give you the meanings. If you have any questions, ask them. We'll spend some time in our groups. Alhamdulillah, I think we started quite early today. And then when we're done with that, we will get into our next surah, inshallah, Surah Al-Alaq. But let's start. Let's read this chapter. Bismillah. Before, okay, we are going to get the question. I was going to ask if anybody has any questions before we even get into the thing. But let's first read and then take it from there, inshallah. Chapter number 9, Da'wah to Ibrahim, the invitation of Ibrahim. Da'wah can mean a call, invitation. Yeah. I don't know, Indian people know they often say when they're going to have a function, they say we're going to have a dawat. And it comes from the same word. We are going to be inviting people to our house. The word is da'wah to Ibrahim. دعا إبراهيم قومه إلى الله ومنعهم من عبادة الأصنام. Ibrahim called his people to Allah, or invited his people to Allah, وَمَنَعَهُمْ مِنْ عِبَادَةِ الْأَصْنَامِ, and he prevented them from worshipping the idols. This section we actually did already last week. قال إبراهيم لقومه, Ibrahim said to his people, ما تعبدون, what are you worshipping? قالوا نعبد أصناما, they said, we are worshipping idols. قال إبراهيم, Ibrahim said, هل يسمعونكم إذ تدعون, do they hear you when you call? أو ينفعونكم أو يضرون, or do they benefit you or do they harm? قالوا, they said, بل وجدنا آباءنا كذلك يفعلون, they said, we found our forefathers like this doing, meaning we found our forefathers doing the same thing. And then this is what we actually had to do for homework. قال إبراهيم, Ibrahim said, فأنا لا أعبد هذه الأصنام, so me, I do not worship these idols. بل أنا عدو لهذه الأصنام, بل rather أنا عدو لهذه الأصنام, I am an enemy to these idols. أنا أعبد رب العالمين. I worship رب العالمين, the Lord of the worlds, or the Lord of all the worlds. الذي خلقني فهو يهدين. الذي, the one who خلقني, he created me. فهو, so he يهديني, he will guide me. الذي خلقني فهو يهدين, the one who created me, so he will guide me. والذي هو يطعمني ويسقين. Question?
Yes, Maulana. Just explain again. Assalamu alaikum first. Just explain why it is Yahdeen there again. I asked you last week and you said you explained to me, but I think you can just explain to us again, inshallah.
Okay, perfect. So you guys learned Tamirs, right? In Nahu.
Yes, Maulana.
You learned Tamirs, good. Okay. You learned that they can be attached and you learned that they can be detached, right?
Yes, Maulana. Muttasilat and munfasilat.
Yes. Now when it's muttasil or muttasila, right? When the Damir is muttasil, then it can either be connected to a noun, it can be connected to a verb, or it can be connected to a particle. Is that correct? Ism, fi'al, or harf.
Yes, Maulana.
Correct. What we're dealing with here is we have a damir. We're looking at damirs attached to verbs. So now let's take a verb. Let's take sami'a. I want to attach the different damirs to sami'a. Now we know I'm not talking about the scale of sami'a, sami'u, sami'at, sami'na, sami'ta, sami'tum, sami'ti, sami'tunna, sami'tu, sami'na. No. I'm saying let's keep the verb standard. The verb is sami'a. I'm not changing the doer. I want to change who the verb was done to. Right? So I'm going to add each of the different damirs to the end of the verb sami'a. But the verb is going to stay the same, sami'a. Sami'a meaning he heard. So how does that work? Let's see. If I say sami'a hu, that will mean what?
He heard. He heard.
He heard.
Sami'a hu.
He heard him.
He heard him. He heard him.
Him.
Right, okay. Right, so sami'a, we're going to keep it the same. He heard. Now I say sami'a huma.
He heard them.
He heard them, the two of them. Okay, and then I can go on. Sami'ahum, sami'aha, sami'ahuma, sami'ahunna, sami'aka, sami'akuma, sami'akum, sami'aki, sami'akuma, sami'akunna. Right? And then what's the next one? How do I say he heard me?
Sami'ani.
Sami'ani. Right. And then the last one is sami'ana. So I just want to focus on that thing. Sami'ani. What if I wanted to say, if I had the word kitab, a noun, and I wanted to say my book?
Kitabi.
Kitabi. Right? What did I add here? I added just a ya. Okay. Let's take, what if I wanted to say, he came to me, ila, but I want to say to me. How am I going to say that?
Would it be the habi?
No, I'm just talking about the harf, ila. How do I say ila? But ila means to, right? So, or rather take li. He did it for me. So for is li. How do I say, if I say he did it for him, I'll say lahu, or for her, laha. But how do I say for me?
Li.
Li.
Sami'a li.
Oh, yeah, just right. So what did I add over here? Just like ya kitabi, I added a ya with a sukun. Yeah, I just added a ya with a sukun. Yeah, I added, what did I add over here by Samia?
Noon, Mangana, noon.
I added a ya with a sukun, but in addition to that ya with a sukun, I added this here, a noon. You see, in the others I added just a ya with a sukun. Yeah, I added the ya with a sukun, but before that, I put that noon there. Now, if you go to the present tense verb, you're going to find the same thing. If I say yahdi, or if I say yasma'u, and I want to add the different damirs to the end, I want to attach a different damir to the ending. How is it going to sound? Yasma'u means he is hearing, right? Let's say we want to say he is hearing him. So that's going to be yasma'u
Who?
hu. And then I can go on the whole scale. يسمعه يسمعهما يسمعهم يسمعها يسمعهما يسمعهن يسمعك يسمعكما يسمعكم يسمعك يسمعكما يسمعكن. And then
Yasma'uni.
يسمعني. And the last one will be يسمعنا. But there the damir is actually na. Okay, now I want you to do something. You can see over here also, we added the ya, but we added also this, that noon with the kasra. Now I want you to try something quickly for me. Try saying sami'a, right? Add the ya, but not the noon.
يسمعي.
Yasma'i or sami'i. What the problem that's happening over there is what's happening? The form of the verb is changing. Sami'i, the form of the verb is changing. Yasma'i, the form of the verb is changing. And you will find that will always be the case. If you try to add a ya to the end of a verb, give me any verb, let's say fa'ala, or rather, let's say daraba. If I want to just put the ya there, I can't have my word daraba and then the ya, otherwise it will become darabai. And that's not generally a sound that we want, and it's not indicative of the e sound that we're looking for here. So I'm actually going to have to change the form of the verb. But in verbs, the form is extremely important. You guys would know that, right? Any slight change in the form of a verb changes the meaning, isn't it? That's what the whole of Sarf was about learning. So what we do is, when we're attaching a damir to a verb, we put that noon there. That noon we call noonul wiqaya. Did you learn about that before?
No,
Yeah,
Maulana.
Mangana.
Okay. We call this here, I'm just going to write it down here. Noon. That word is just literally just how you spell the letter noon. Noonul wiqaya. You can see there's a mudaf ilayh construction. Noonul wiqayati. the noon of wiqaya. Wiqaya comes from waqayaqi. It actually shares its root with the word taqwa. And what wiqaya is a shield. A wiqaya is a shield. So we call this here the noon of protection. The noon of protection. So the only function of that noon, that we put there is to protect the verb from being changed by that ya with the sukun. So that we can have the verb form sami'a stays sami'a, yasma'u stays yasma'u. Uh, and then I can add the ya without affecting either the ya or the verb. So that noon, I put it there in the middle just to like serve as a shield, protecting these two things from changing each other. You understand? So when I'm attaching a damir, like I have over here, to a verb, I put a noon before it. Why do I put that noon there? I put the noon there so that the verb before it doesn't change in any way because of attaching that here. So that noon is basically there just to protect the form of the verb. And that's why I call it also the noonul wiqaya, the noon of protection.
Maulana, I do understand that as a person. I don't know if the rest, but we'll sort it out again. There's one thing that I've noticed, Maulana, is that on all the second letters, the Ha of Yahdin, the Shin of Yashfin, the Shin of, again, Yashfin, as you go along, Yasqin and Yashfin, there's a sukoon on. It changed to a sukoon when you add a noun. What is that something that we're still going to do in second years, or can you explain that?
No, that's the normal form of the verb. The verb is hada, yahdi, fa'ala, yaf'alu.
Oh, I see.
Remember,
Okay.
yaf'alu on the bab, right? If you say the verb
Right,
is
eh?
fa'ala, the past tense is fa'ala, the present tense is yaf'alu. So on that fa letter, there's a sukun, yaf'alu.
All right.
Right? So basically, this ha is the first letter here. The verb is hada, yahdi. Saqa, yasqi. Shafa, yashfi. So
I see.
they just, because they're all verbs, they are present tense verbs, they're fitting perfectly on the present tense verb scale. Now, there is something that's maybe not, you maybe not 100% accustomed to here, that you will learn in the future, inshallah, is this, that what's the root letters of the verb yahdi? The root letters are ha,
Yeah.
dal, and ya. Now that ya over there, we haven't really dealt with verbs that have a weak letter. Ya is a weak letter. So that we're going to learn in the future. Right? And the same with saqa. The roots are sin, qaf, ya. And shafa is the same. Shin, fa, shafa, yeah, shin, fa, yeah. So all of those have a weak letter in them. Right? And weak letter verbs we haven't dealt with. We haven't dealt with it. But I would have assumed that you would have just intuitively, recognized that it's a present tense verb. So what we have here is all of these here. That noon, what is that noon? That noon is the noon of protection. That noon is the noon of protection. But when does the noon of protection come? The noon of protection only comes when I wanted to attach that ya. That damir, that's a ya, the ya mutakallim. That's what we call it, that damir. So the noon only comes when I want to add that ya. Yeah, I see the noon there, but I don't see the ya. So what that is, because the noon is there, I know that the ya must be understood. Because the noon only comes when the ya is there. Right? So that noon is there and it indicates to me that the ya is implied or the ya is understood. Right? Why did Allah omit the ya? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, firstly, Allah can do whatever Allah wants to do. Second thing is, it has a rhetorical benefit in that it keeps the meter, the rhyme. It keeps the flow of the verses. So it's almost like a type of a, I don't want to say poetic license, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is using the rhetoric like that. And it's perfectly valid in the Arabic language, number one, because, well, the Quran defines what is correct in the Arabic language. And secondly, because it was something known. And also, there is no other indication or implication of that noon except to indicate that that ya is implied. So we say, الذي خلقني فهو يهدي. We just say يهدين, but it means يهديني. Same applies for the next verse. والذي هو يطعمني ويسقين. Implied there, يسقيني. وإذا مرضت فهو يشفين. Implied there, يشفيني. Yeah. Another rhetorical benefit of it could be that it though he is speaking about this relationship between Allah and him, he created me, and he will guide me. It almost places a lesser emphasis on the me, rather putting emphasis on the him. Yeah, so that's not got to do with like literally the surf of the word, but it has to do with like the rhetorical benefit of the word. So simple. There's no verb except the dual forms of the verbs, and we didn't do the dual forms right when we learned the scales. We omitted the dual forms, but there's no other form of the word that ends with a noon with a kasra. Check out, say any of the scales, you're never going to get him any with a noon with a kasra. Let's say a scale quickly. I'm going to give you even a verb that has a noon as the last root letter. Sakana. Sakana is a verb. The last root letter is a noon. Let's say that scale. Just listen. Do we ever get to a noon with a kasra at the end? Ever? Sakana. Sakanu. Sakanat. Sakanna. Sakanta. Sakantuma. Or not to do. Sakanta. Sakantum. Sakanti. Sakantunna. Sakantu. Sakanna. Any noons with a kasra at the end?
No, Maulana.
No. Right. Okay. Let's say the present tense. Yaskunu. Yaskunu. Yaskununa. Taskunu. Yaskunna. Taskunu. Taskununa. Taskunina. Taskunna. Askunu. Naskunu. Any noon with a kasra at the end?
No.
No. And verbs don't have a halatul jar, such that you can say it even is going to get a kasra. You didn't cover halatul af'al.
No, Maulana.
No. Okay. So verbs, like past tense verbs, don't go into hals at all. Present tense verbs, they don't have a jar. So you're never going to get a verb with a kasra or the noon with a kasra at the end, unless you're dealing with the duals. But the dual will always be preceded by a fatha, ani, like yaf'alani. So that doesn't play in anywhere. Therefore, whenever I see this noon added at the end, this noon with a kasra, then you simply tell yourself, if it's a present, if I have this noon with a kasra at the end, then I know that noon is just indicating to me that I must understand it as me. Right? That the action is being done to a me. Like obviously in the context, the me refers to Ibrahim alayhi salam because he's speaking. Understood? If anybody has any more questions on that, then you may ask, and you also should ask. But otherwise, we carry on, inshallah.
Mola, how would sakana be if you had to add the ya at the end?
Sakana ni.
So you wouldn't put a shadda on the noon.
Normally, you just say sakana ni, because the purpose of that noon is to separate the verb from the ya. There are different modes of recitation. I must ask my wife this. There are different modes of recitation that may potentially, different modes of pronouncing Arabic that may potentially assimilate the two. But normally, how we would say it is sakana ni.
Shukran, Mola.
Simply because that noon is there to separate the verb from the dhamir, so that it doesn't cause it to change. Right. Okay, let's get on. الذي خلقني فهو يهديني. The one who created me, so he will guide me. والذي هو يطعمني ويسقيني. And the one who he يطعمني, he gives me to eat, ويسقيني, and he gives me to drink. وإذا مرضت فهو يشفيني. And when I become sick, فهو يشفيني, then he cures me. والذي يميتني ثم يحييني. And the one who يميتني, he will cause me to die. ثم يحييني, then he will cause me to live again. وإن الأصنام لا تخلق ولا تهدي. And certainly the idols, they do not create, nor do they guide. وإنها لا تطعم أحدا ولا تسقي. And indeed they, because it's referring to idols, which is a plural of an inanimate object. But I know it's plural, so in English I'm saying it as they. And indeed they, لا تطعم, they do not feed أحدا, anyone, ولا تسقي, and nor do they give to drink. وإذا مرض أحد فهي لا تشفي. And when مرض أحد, when anyone becomes sick, فهي, then they, لا تشفي, they do not cure. Here again, singular feminine, but it's referring to an inanimate plural, being the idols. That's why we're referring to it as singular feminine. وإنها لا تميت أحدا ولا تحيي. And indeed they, لا تميت أحدا, they do not cause anyone to die. ولا تحيي, nor do they give life. Any questions? I don't know if it's like becoming difficult or what, but if people are finding it difficult in any way, you must let us know, even if you send a private message or something.
Only for the second last one. You translated, and you that marido, did you say that is become sick?
Yes.
It looks like a past tense form.
Yes, correct, yes. It is. You see, marid, this word here, إذا. Right?
Yes or no?
That word means like, that's what caused me to translate it like that. It actually gives it a future tense understanding. So when anyone becomes sick, with an implication that if someone becomes sick. So the word إذا, despite the fact that it comes before past tense verb, it gives it a meaning of like a future tense, like a
Continuous almost.
condition. not continuous,
Okay.
but more like a conditional.
There was a few in this exercise, in this 2 pages, like the tenses got me a bit confused, and now that you went through the answers, some past tense ones you made present.
Again, yeah, we have وَإِذَا مَرِضْتُ فَهُوَ يَشْفِينِ. And when I became sick, you see,
Mm.
what makes it clear? He says, and just translate it literally. And when I became sick, then he will cure me. Doesn't make sense, right?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
As opposed to when I become sick, he will cure me. That's because of this word here, إِذَا.
Okay.
إِذَا means when, right? But it's like a conditional. And when we're using conditionals, then most of the time we use the past tense verb, but it's actually referring to something happening in the future.
Okay.
Like, for example, if I say, if I do this, then you must do that. How will I say that? I will say that, إن فعلت هذا فافعل ذلك. إن فعلت. How do you translate? If I did that. No, you'll translate if I do that.
Okay.
So in Arabic, generally, when we have conditionals, then we use the past tense verb. And
The present,
إذا
the
is one of
past
the,
tense or present. What did you say, Namona? If we have idha, we use the present.
past tense,
Oh.
but it's referring to future.
Oh yes, we use the past, but to translate it, or the meaning
Understand it as
future.
conditional. For example, Allah says in the Quran, He speaks about Qiyamah, but He says, إِذَا زُلْزِلَتِ الْأَرْضُ زِلْزَالَهَا. When the earth will be shaken.
Mm.
So, okay, but that's not such an easy one because zulzila is like a 4-letter verb, which we haven't done yet.
And then can you repeat, Molna, please, the last one's translation?
Okay, sure. وَإِنَّهَا, and indeed they, the idols, لَا تُمِيتُ أَحَدًا. They do not, you see it's tumitu feminine, singular feminine, referring to the idols again. They do not cause to die. Who do they not cause to die? They do not cause أحدا to die. أحدا means anyone.
Yeah.
They do not cause anyone to die. وَلَا تُحْيِي. And again, this is singular feminine, referring to the idols. And they, the idols, do not cause anyone to live.
I'm not sure if you explained this earlier. I didn't get it, but the tuhi, is that referring again to the anyone, or is that like that? Because I translated as does not bring me to life.
No. That just means the verb there. And I know this may confuse you because this is a weak letter verb and we haven't done weak letter verbs, right? The verb here is أحيا يحيي. That's the verb.
Okay.
أحيا يحيي.
And the whole thing
If
is
I
the
want to
verb,
say,
like tuhi.
yeah, correct. It would mean, if I wanted to say it does not give me life, if I want to add the me at the end, remember I must have that noon
Okay.
between the verb and the me.
Okay.
It would have to be تحييني.
Mm.
So if you want to see a me at the end of a verb, you must look out not just for the ya, look out for the ya and the noon.
And then earlier you said it can also be just the noon.
And sometimes it will be just the noon, yes.
Okay. Okay. Shukran, Maulana.
Afwan. Okay. So what we'll do is now, inshallah, let's get into our groups. Maybe not spend too much time there. Just take maybe the first 3 or 4 lines, see how far you can get in 5 minutes. On page number 22, أمام الملك. أمام الملك. I'm going to tell you now, the word amam means in front of. In front of. أمام الملك.
Yes,
Okay.
Maulana Khalil told us it's a darf makan.
Perfect. That's exactly what it is. All right. Let's break up into our groups, inshallah. And spend a few minutes there, inshallah. So you know what to do. Read, translate, and work through any constructions together, inshallah. As we always do.
Maulana, I'm not sure if you know way back.
Okay, so what we'll do, inshallah, is I think we'll take a pause over there with that. With the reader, we'll get back to that.
Lana, your sound is a bit.
Use the mic. You gotta put the mic. Okay, so we'll pause there with the reader, inshallah. We'll get back to that next week, inshallah. What I want you to do for homework is finish page number 20. Okay, just finish page number 22. If you've done most of page 22 in the group already, then you can do page 23 as well. But what I want you to do in addition to completing that page is read the whole story. Try and read the story a few times and see that you still understand what the story means without depending too much on looking at either your own translations or any translation for that matter, right? So make a habit of reading the story and then just adding on a little bit, inshallah. We'll pause there with that for now and we'll move on to our surah. The surah that we are going to do today is Surah Al-Alaq.